Welcome back to the North American Challengers Tournament Spring Season Roundtable. We got a whole camera full of casters, hosts, beautiful faces, beautiful people, beautiful souls, and we are here once again to bring back the roundtable. We just got done with the first stage of qualifiers. We're going to be jumping into stage 2 this weekend to decide on the final 16 teams, and then to wrap things up and find those final 8 teams who are going to jump into the regular season. My name's Trex. Joining with me today is Liz, Private Dancer, Steph, Weezy, Yuwei. How are you doing today, Liz?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Trex?
I'm good. Private?
I'm good. I'm ready. It's actually an action-packed weekend for a lot of us, not just these matches, but for Mobile Legends in general as well.
That's true. Goff is coming.
Goff.
Steph, Weezy, how are you doing?
I'm good as well. I'm just glad to be back for another roundtable. Last weekend was full of excitement. Everybody got to see some of their favorite teams fight it out, but I can't wait to see who's on the roster this time around.
Most definitely. And I think most importantly, Yuwei. We haven't had you on a roundtable in a little while. He's fallen off the map since last NACT, but the man is back. How are you doing tonight, Yuwei?
Yeah, no, it's been close quarters here. Haven't really been out and about, but honestly, this NACT has been quite interesting. A lot of good teams, a lot of new and old faces, kind of pieced together. A lot of small drama here and there. So pretty excited to come into this roundtable.
I think that's been probably one of the most major things of this season so far is a lot of those new faces, a lot of new teams, some old faces as well, but even new members joining bigger teams. And I think for the first time, it's kind of hard to guess a lot of these slots. I mean, there's our regulars, right? There's our top 4 that we kind of know about. But when it comes to everyone else, it seems like it's just a very open playing field out there, especially with the new format for the double qualifiers and everything. I think it's going to definitely be really interesting. Now, the first thing we're going to be talking about today is the first round recap, some of the highlights, some of the big moments, what really struck us when we were watching that first round. And I think we're going to start. Anybody want to go first?
I just want to say that Bloodhound going 100% this time around versus the previous few NACTs, they've definitely stepped it up. And we always talk about how Bloodhound, they always have the same roster. Out of all these teams, it has been the most consistent team, along with the favorite. But Bloodhound's definitely a team to watch out for here.
I like that.
Me and Weezy talked a little bit about this too, because we have, when it comes to predictions and our ranking for North America, we have Bloodhounds pretty high up.
Where do you guys have them?
I have them at 4th place.
4th?
Just because of all of the teams that can be up and down with roster shakeups, with how they play and stuff like that. Bloodhounds have always been a very consistent team that has been steadily improving every single season. And this season, it's no different. They came out 100% out there and they looked super strong as well. Maybe I still imagine they're going to struggle against teams like BTK, Gaiman Gladiators, a Devious Activity as well, but I really feel like they can pretty much hold themselves up there with pretty much anybody else here in North America now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Kind of how Private was saying, me and him talked about where we kind of rank some of these teams, similar to what I would assume Trex would do as well when it came to your expected top 4. I would say the Bloodhounds had an interesting route to the first positions in the top 16. I mean, they took down the Vanguard. I thought that was pretty funny to see those two teams go head to head. That was the one I requested to watch because they're friends, right? Their captains have been practicing.
Well, that was actually the Bloodhounds Academy originally.
Yeah, that was their side B team.
So.
Yep. And so it was just a little irony to kind of watch them fight it out as the first match. But nonetheless, yeah, the Bloodhounds, they were able to take them down and then took down a couple of other teams, some newer faces on the scene. And again, just proving why they have the capability to be a top 8 team. But I will say the biggest surprise to me for at least the upper bracket and the lower bracket, I guess if we go for both, was Team Gosu getting knocked out. How'd y'all feel about that?
Well,
Definitely one of the most interesting matches. I think that you guys also said while casting the game. We never expected Gosu, but we haven't seen Gosu come back to the competitive scene for at least the last season. Like they were in the beginning, but we haven't seen how they perform. Especially General hasn't been playing competitively for at least a season, so it's great seeing them come back. I was like super shocked that they did get knocked out, but they're coming back this weekend. And I think that's something that I'm wondering, like, what if they do get knocked out this weekend? Like, what is going to happen with that? Because they're one of the strongest teams and the name for Mobile Legends North America. So what do you guys feel about that?
If they get knocked out this round right here, like they can't get knocked out this round right. If they get knocked out this round right here, it's over. Like there's I was looking at the bracket. And I'm not trying to be like the rain on the parade, but there are not that many challengers. They should make it. If they get knocked out here, there's a major problem, especially because like I know they've been scrimming, like I know they've been practicing. It's not like they're not taking this seriously. Like I just saw a clip of Zero talking the other day. How about they were up till 3 a.m. scrimming teams, like. So they've been working at it, meaning if they do not make this, there's either a major talent problem, there's something going wrong there, or it's just like it's the downfall of Gosu. I think they should make it at least a top 16, but we'll see.
I'm not sure if it just got released today, but I do remember watching that they have changed out 2 people on the roster.
They changed. They dropped Reckless and brought in someone into Rome. Someone else.
And there is still the team that beat them. That is, there's still the team that beat them. Before you is still in this actually very close placement on the brackets as well.
The rematch.
And while they have, from what I've heard, that they have been able to scrim and stuff like that, but just not as much. A lot of the people on Gosu are, I don't want to say like old, but older than I want to say the average of a lot of players in Mobile Legends. You're talking about people who've got other things like jobs and stuff like that. So it can be kind of hard to kind of coordinate some of those scrims. So they might not be getting the practice that they want to get. And as Liz mentioned, for General, like he wasn't at all last year. At the spring season, it was the Team Sans General, and then they ended up being called Fallout. And then there wasn't a Gosu in the fall season either. So while General has still been playing, he plays tons of Mobile Legends anyway. But there is something to be said about competing at that top level and to keep that sword sharp.
Well, I will say the only thing that worries me is if we're looking at patterns, they tend to repeat themselves. I hope they don't. But they lost to 2 newer faces on the scene, right? They lost to in the upper bracket Fiends, a newer team. Who we haven't really seen before. And then in the lower bracket, they lost to another brand new team. So there's just that wild card effect now that kind of has me worried because there's a lot of anomalies that are possibly out there who can kind of compete at that level now, especially with how much NA has been growing with the prize pools that are floating around this year. I mean, everybody wants it a lot more than they wanted it last year. And that's the only worry that I have for them. Of course, at heart, I hope Gosu can make it. You know, we're all been Gosu fans for the longest, and it would be good to see them back in the competitive scene again, not only for Gosu, but for everybody that supports them behind. But hey, I mean, if all else fails you, I think it might be time for you to jump back on the team.
There's no way.
Why not? Why not, Yuwei?
It's been kind of crazy. There's a lot of familiar faces, and everything's been kind of shuffled around. And I know a lot of you guys are from the east side, so a lot of these names don't really come in contact. Well, from the west side, like, you know, from Gosu, Paul, Bomi, been 2 strong players that queue up in trio and 5-mans pretty much for the last few years. Now they're getting the opportunity to play underneath a very strong name. Basti, which is the new roamer, also was in contact with me for a little bit. We played quite a bit, and you know, he's definitely quite well. Hopefully he can you know, fill that shoes, because Gosu, they definitely really need it in this second qualifiers, especially since we already shoved 8 teams up. You know, so they pretty much have to be able to get through this, or else it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to watch.
Yeah, I mean,
well, there's always new players coming.
Yeah, I think they should get past this. I don't know if they'll make it to top 8. That's still up in the air, but Like it's double elimination. Even if they face a hard team up front, they make it through lower. Like there's no way, right?
Right.
Didn't Fiends make it to? Did Fiends make it through?
Yes, but
yeah. So I mean,
here's the thing about Fiends, right? Half of the roster is from AO, and half the roster is from EMP, which is the team that I kind of watched over for a little bit. Protostroy, which is kind of like the prodigy child, of like best player, has like one of the craziest Fanny. Kohari plays pretty much anything down the mid lane. And then they got a few people with a lot of experience and, that are bold, that are confident, that aren't scared of anyone. That team, for me, I didn't want to talk about it right now, but, they are definitely my dark horse.
So you're to blame.
We'll save some of that for next time.
The point is that that Gosu didn't exactly lose to like bottom of the barrel teams here in North America. They lost against some pretty formidable foes. Even watching B4U, a lot of that game, I mean, especially that B4U game, like at the end of that game, it was basically who would make the first mistake. They were both hiding, both trying to get the right positions on each other, and it just happened that unfortunately Gosu made the first mistake, and which cost them a line drive through into mid for the win. So I mean, there's still hope. And like they still are a formidable team here. It's just I want to say like North America's growing a little. We got a lot of teams starting to come together, a lot of skills starting to get put out there.
So like, is the reality right now though? Because here's the thing: I think the reality's kicking in that maybe Gosu is no longer a top 4 team, right? Like Gosu's no longer. I'm gonna say it. Like
I would agree.
I think and I think that's been something that, and it's been kind of the writing's been on the wall for a while, right? The writing has been on the wall for a while. People have questioned it, but I think the reality is coming in that they might not even be a top 6 anymore. They could possibly not even be a top 8 anymore. But what does that mean? It means new possible teams coming in. I think one of my favorite moments, though, first round, like that was hot. But another team I want to point out, Area 77 got dropped to lower bracket. They had a great game against No Morales. They actually almost lost. Like they were 5K. It was one of the games I was watching. They had like a 5K gold deficit. And they were still able to pull it back together and take the win. And you don't see that very often. Like it's something that like some of those teams that like aren't number 1, aren't number 2, if they fall behind like that, they end up losing a lot. So I think there's definitely some promise there. And it's just something that for me was kind of like when they were down 5K, I was like, oh, it's over. Area 77's out. Area 77 and Gosu's out of the bracket, and they were able to pull it together. And there's the difference, right, between some of those teams and like Gosu. Like Gosu wasn't able to get themselves out of the hole. Certain other teams weren't able to get themselves out of the hole. So I think it's definitely promising. Area 77 coming into the next stage and into the regular season if they make it.
One more thing to kind of jump into that. The most interesting thing though that I saw was the journey of the Night Horde, because they got knocked down in the upper bracket really early, and they had to claw their way through the entire lower bracket. Like most of these teams that we've seen make it to the first half of the top 16, they all started in like losers round 6.
Yeah.
The Night Horde started in losers round 1 and had to fight every single team.
They made it all the way, huh? So, that is nuts.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
And it's
losers round 2.
Do it again this weekend.
One of those teams that a lot of people have been kind of looking for, that have been proving, the Vanguard, I want to say, had probably the roughest bracket they could personally possibly have. One to face like their predecessors, the Bloodhounds, in the first round, and then in the second round of the losers bracket, they go up against the Night Horde. I'm just like, bro. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, there's stage 2, brothers. Like it's gonna be rough. I'm looking for that. It's almost I feel bad because I want to say the stage 2. If any of you guys have seen it, like I want to say most of the bigger names, Sans, Novacore, are all kind of at the lower bracket. So that's going to be kind of a slugfest for the qualifiers there, that the lower end of this top bracket for stage 2.
Well, we can say BTK's looking strong and Gaming Gladiators. I mean, to be honest with you,
of course,
I thought they would. I would have thought they would have had an easier bracket, but they took out some top teams already in the upper bracket. They only had 4 matches. I mean, Gaming Gladiators, they took down Nova Core, which was I at least expected them to go really far. They're a really strong team that's been competing all last year. They took down Overskilled, which is a team that took down before you, who beat Gosu. They also, for BTK, they took down Legacy. They were able to shut down Assassin Riles team, and then they took down Area 77.
They diff Area 77. Like they pounded them. They low diff easy. Like they made it look easy, honestly, and I was surprised by that.
They had the shortest game, right? Gaming Gladiator. They had a 7-minute game.
Yeah, their first game,
which
right?
Definitely momentum early.
Opened up the night against Accelerate. I saw clips of that quickest game in history, or well, we'll see.
And it made it onto their YouTube channel. I saw for Gaming Gladiator. They have a whole YouTube channel for like different rosters for different games, which I think is pretty cool.
That's
like
cool.
we have, and like what you guys are saying, Gaming Gladiator is like one team that has mostly everybody together for almost now it's going to be like 1.5 years, besides the addition of Chicken. But then the 4 of them have stuck with each other for a 1.5 years almost. So that's
something I talked about last year at the last season with this team. Like I know that they were really dominant in North America, kind of the sweep over Avalon in the finals. And I remember I've been saying it for a while too. And like when I talked with them, especially talking with Wrath, our manager, I'm like, you guys have something special here, but understand, like, you guys are new. When you go to that international, there's gonna be some frowns. There's gonna be some things that are gonna happen. But if you guys can take that, if you can stick together throughout this season into this next year, I think you guys are going to be able to do something great. But they need to, like, because I always press that, because it's one of the big things that is kind of disappointing with some teams in North America. They have that magic when they're coming through, and you're like, all right, man, if these guys come back next season, I think they're going to be something, which is like what we see with Bloodhounds. They're slowly creeping up that skill level because they've decided to stick together. And that's kind of like a big thing for them right now. Like they only traded out one, which was Yellow for Chicken now. Which, I mean, honestly, I think if any of us would have made a change for the #1 like XP laner here in North America, I think that would have been the change that we went with. But yeah, I mean, I'm particularly interested to see where how those teams perform here, especially with so much on the line coming up here in the next few months.
I like it. So now coming into round 2, which I feel like we've already covered a lot of round 2. I think what we could probably talk about is for round 2, since we've already kind of covered like some of the teams. Are there any teams that you guys, I mean, who do we think are like, what are some of the picks for you guys here? Who are some teams to watch out for? Because I feel like we're getting pretty low. Like, it's not the usuals, right? For me, honestly, I'm going to be, like, to be completely honest, there aren't a whole lot of teams here that I follow. I mean, of course, there's Gosu here. Somehow Lamy Top's in this. I was looking over the bracket, and I was like, Lamy Top, did they wait for the second round to end? Because they weren't in first round, were they?
I don't remember them. Yeah, I don't remember them.
Okay, so I will.
They're like, we don't need the first round.
a lot of these players and a lot of the teams, especially in first round, they tested out. They have some errors, and a lot of the teams are like matching pieces. So Limey Top kind of spread out. I believe they were in different teams beforehand, but now coming back, Limey Top is definitely a team that we have to watch out for. There's a lot of teams, honestly, that I feel like are quite good. Nova Core is good. There's also like Apex Predator, which is a good West team. Gosu is on there.
Wild Cards.
Wild Cards, of course. I believe that's the East team. We got Team Ace. There's also there's definitely a lot more. But unfortunately, I haven't. What's the problem? That's a good team also. It's pretty much AO. So like a lot of these teams, unfortunately, North America, they don't have a lot of sponsors for team names, so everyone just kind of goes with the random team name every single time around, changing up their rosters like they're changing clothes. It's really really frustrating for me to just come in and look and be like, no, I don't know any team, but when I click in, I know like half their rosters already.
Yeah.
They also change names, like players change names.
Yeah, I was about to say they change their character names too, so it's like it's hard to follow some of your favorite players here as well.
And honestly, even like casting like games with Shark, like he be changing his name every freaking match.
But I think that's the good thing about keeping the same name, is because even the teams that maybe aren't top 8, top 16 teams, like guys like us, like we remember them, like teams like, for example, Apex Predator, right? Or some of these teams that have like been top 16, have never made a top 8. The reason why I remember them is because they've always kept the same team name for the past. Every time they've tried to qualify, yes, they've never made it to the top 8, but they've always tried to qualify under the same team names. And that's why when we do these roundtables, we're like, oh yeah, I know this team. I've seen them. I remember they got top 16 last time, or I remember, because they've done it 3 or 4 times now. So, you know, stop changing your name, guys, please.
I was just talking about the rough path that Vanguard had in stage 1, and stage 2 they have to face B4U, the team that beat Gosu in the lower bracket. So
jeez,
man,
Godly.
So
hell yeah.
There's another couple months they might have to wait, but I mean, they're I mean, not that I think that they're like super duper guaranteed top 8 slot. They're just one of those teams I've known from like that have been slowly improving here. Legacy's on there. I think we talked about that. Assassin Riles is looking to. I think it was kind of almost like an upset last season that Legacy didn't actually make it to the top 8 for the fall season. So, and that's what I was saying here, that
Did we lose? Did we lose? Did we lose?
Did we lose?
We lost.
He was saying Legacy.
He's back.
Yeah, is he back?
We can hear you, but we can't see you, Private, I think.
Okay, let me reset that.
No, you're
okay.
good now.
While he's resetting,
you're back now.
You're back now.
It's definitely a surprise. We get to see them compete again, though. That's the beautiful thing about this NACT, is there's more than enough chances to get into that top 16. I'm looking forward to seeing them compete. Like I said, there's still a lot of other good teams on there. Idyllics and Forgotten Ones. These are teams that have been competing all last year as well. I know Yuwei, we've done a lot of the MLSA. We've seen a lot of these familiar names. Forgotten Ones is the team that took down BTK in the NACT Spring season in the qualifiers. They were the team that knocked them out when Cardi was playing on the team in the XP. I think it was in like the top 16. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they pulled up the YSS too in the jungle. It's crazy. So
it's still not an easy bracket. Like, I do agree, there's a lot of newer names in this second qualifiers, but that's a really good thing, just to see how even the competition is spread across the playing field now. Like, it's really unpredictable, to be honest with you. Like, you just don't know who's going to be able to kind of take those remaining spots. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing these matches, though. Like we said, guys, they're all going to be live this weekend. All of us will be live, so definitely tune in, catch these games. But I at least want to say Gosu's got to make it, dog. They got to make it. We got to see Gosu make it, man. That's, put some of that blessings on
I think they will. They will. Yeah. There's 8 spots. I mean.
And one of Gosu's strength, okay, in terms of making, especially in a qualifiers like this, where they have 1 and 2 chances and significant ability to have a lot of roster changes, this is Gosu's strength. They're able to pull players from left and right, east and west, however they want to. It's just one DM away, and with the name itself, they could literally grab up and piece together what they need. And with the tournament experience that they have, I know Paul has won a few tournaments. I believe he's won Facebook about like half a year ago. I'm not sure where he's at now. Zero has definitely competed, gotten like quite far, especially when he competes on teams other than Gosu. Merciless person that we've seen quite before, and then they have 2 of these strong mid laners, Fleur and Nostalgia, and which is aka Clark, and both of them I actually got to play with back then. So this new roster coming in, I think is going to make the difference, honestly.
Do you think they make it to? All right. So like odds are like 90 to 100%.
I think they're going.
They get to top 16. Do they get past? Yeah. Do they get past stage 3 in the top 8?
In the top 8.
Dude, even the top 8 from the first qualifiers are all stacked.
Yeah.
every
So
single
that's what I'm saying.
one of those
That's what I'm saying. Do we
teams-
think they make it past like? So they get through this qualifier, then they have to do the 16 round robin, right? Do they make it into regular season?
I think they could go 7th or 8th slot. I think every team is
Yeah.
really, really stacked.
That's fair.
I
Mhm.
That's
think
fair.
it's fair.
Yeah.
But with the new roster changes and the 2 qualifiers, I can't see them anywhere besides going in, making that top 16, getting
Mhm.
a few wins here and there, and making sure they get that 7th to 8th slot. It's going to be very, very tough. And just like you said earlier, it's going to be a bloodbath. Everyone's going to be smacking each other. But I think Gosu's going to come out on top.
I think they definitely will get into the top 16, even top 8, I would say. Maybe towards the lower end because of just how competitive the other teams are this season. And in any case, the fact that Gosu is joining in the tournament itself shows like the true esports spirit, because we know General has his plate pretty full. He's mostly like a content creator, and that is the majority of his job right now. So him interviewing him last season, like I was asking him if he was joining back in the competitive scene, and I'm so glad that he actually made the move to put Gosu back this season. And the fact that even though they saw defeat in the first round, they decided to come back, facing the possibility that maybe they don't make it to the third round, which will be like the viewers are going to be questionable on to Gosu, but they still decided to soldier through, and I think that's enough, honestly.
I mean, even though I'm kind of like the doubter here, or I'm playing the devil's advocate here just because it's fun, I do hope they make it, because honestly, like when it comes to like what brings in the money, Gosu, BTK, and GG, we get those 3 teams in, it's going to be a good season, right? We know, especially we have all 8 teams going to playoff this season. It definitely makes things interesting. And we've seen, I mean, even before, whenever the whole like name change drama happened and it was Knights of Fate, but it was Gosu before, like we've seen the team Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it was Fallout. Fallout really had a decent run that season, even after all the issues and, whatever. They didn't end up cutting it to playoffs, right? They didn't make it. Knights of Fate stole it from them, I think, or like were able to slip in at the end. But yeah, Knights of Fate was able to slip into playoffs at the end there. But still, we've seen them even when they're kind of on the edge there, like still able to always pull it off. Still able to kind of pull it off and make it this season. So I think it's definitely possible to see it happen again. Moving past round 2, though, top teams right now, some of their performances. I'd like to open up. You guys mentioned Bloodhounds earlier, and again, we're gonna play devil's advocate here. I feel like I still want to see more from them. They didn't have the hardest bracket in the world. I do think they could be a top 4 team easily. Like I think they've earned that right in the sense of they've been together a long time. If we look at any team that's grinded from being a top 64 to top 32 to top 16 to top 8, finally making it to regular season. I mean, they're probably, when we just look at like the growth, like most up and coming team, it has definitely been Bloodhounds over the past year. But I'm still kind of questionable. I'm excited to see how they do. I think they definitely make it to regular season. They've been in my top 8 since the beginning. But I want to see, like, can they finally be like a possible semifinals team? Can they be like a lower bracket finals team? Some of those things.
You're absolutely right in that they haven't been challenged in the upper bracket. For me, they performed as expected so far, in that they were pretty dominant in their victories against teams that I wasn't too familiar with, and that's kind of what I expected out of them. You know what I mean? To be able to kind of put down these teams quickly and then claim that top 8 spot very quickly. It's yet to be seen, which will be in stage 3 once they go against some of these teams that can take the advantage from them. So we can see how they fight maybe from the back foot, or how their rotations stack up against some of the top teams in North America if they've been practicing that. I mean, we've seen, and as much as I do like Bloodhounds, last season there were some pretty big holes in some of their plays. And I don't want to just pick on anybody, but like Ooga Booga, fantastic on the Kufra. until he went up against BTK, where they were just zoning him out. They couldn't find those sets with the Kufra. Like, they didn't even bother banning it because they knew how to deal with it. And then from then on, we switched Ooga Booga to a marksman role, I believe, to showcase. I mean, as much as the viewers love the Hanabi pick, I mean, when it comes to its actual usefulness, sometimes in these top meta plays, it can kind of be squandered. So I wonder if those holes have been kind of patched up. Have we expanded some of the hero pools? That's what I'm really looking forward to see, and that's why I say, like, they're growing every season. So I'm expecting something from that that I would love to see from them when it comes to those types of verse and matches.
Yeah.
He switched rosters, no? Like Uda Buda. He wasn't on Bloodhounds last season.
He's been all over the place.
Yes, he was.
Right.
It was another name.
Before Bloodhounds,
It wasn't
on
called
a different team, but yeah, he was on Bloodhounds last.
That was the season before, though. On last season, he was always on Bloodhounds. He just had a different name, which I forgot what his name was last season. But he played Kufra.
Weezy, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Really, the test is like we often, most of the NACTs, we see like a big gap between the top 2 teams and the remaining 8. Where it's like substantial. Like, for example, you would see TOB, now Gaming Gladiators, they would be almost undefeated the entire regular season. I'm hoping this time around, with the competition a little bit more spread out, we don't see more of that much of a one-sided story. And I think that's really going to be the test, right? You made a really good point about the Bloodhounds when you said you don't really know where they sit at, even though you know they're a top 8 team. Are they top 4? Are they closer to that top 8, barely making it by? And I do agree. In their bracket, they didn't really go against any top 4 potential teams to give them a top 4 rating. Like I said, they did take down a newer team that we haven't seen. It was Team Fiends. This is the team that took down Gosu. So, I mean, there's definitely potential there. But I think really for us to kind of validate it, we just got to see as the season progresses, as the qualifiers progress and everything, maybe in the top 16 when it's single round robin, it'll really give us a good understanding when teams go up against like the top 2 teams, where they kind of sit at currently in like the power rankings.
Well, I'm gonna be the only person that disagreed with pretty much everything you guys just said.
Okay.
All 3 of you guys,
I like it.
because
it's not a surprise. You had like what was it? The predictions?
Yeah, come on, Yuwei. You always disagree with us anyway.
Because we have to give value. We have to give value to that very 4th bracket of the qualifiers. What's the problem? Which is Bloodhounds was able to get that victory in that 3rd set. Is majority AO, which is a top 8 team from last season.
That snuck in due to a disqualification.
Due to a disqualification,
AO really didn't make it
Nova
in the top
Core.
8. Yeah. So.
Yes, but they are still top 8 material. The same thing with Team Fiends. Half of the roster is AO, and Gosu honestly was a top 4. Top 5 when they were at Fallout. We were all saying, hey, they have a good opportunity to go to that offline qualifiers. Halfway through, we're like, yes, they're set. And then we got the Knights of Faith drama, and then we got the Ace. We got a bunch of stuff going on. But going back to it, their bracket was actually quite tough. Of course, they didn't get the top 3 teams. They didn't get BTK. They didn't get A77. They didn't get the gaming Gladiators. They didn't get the DVS Activity, which is actually a crazy team too.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take it away that they got a good bracket. They won all of their games that was registered, and it's still hard fought. So I would actually say Bloodhounds stepped it up. They got that Ooga Booga, which was another player from NACT that they have trouble with, and they're able to complete their roster this time around. I think they're ready better than ever.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely not taking anything away from them. They're forever now, to my eyes, a top 8. It's just kind of like what Weezy said. Like, there's this huge gap between the number 1 team, or the top 2 teams normally, and then the number 3, right? And the same kind of goes for like the top 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, there's normally always this big kind of wall, like, and there's just these huge spaces. And I'm wondering if Bloodhounds have finally like broken that barrier and stepped into the next realm of like being able to compete with the top 3, maybe taking a game from the top 3, you know, not just being another team.
They were the only ones
slaughtered.
to take a game from TOB last season.
They were. You're right. So I mean,
tough.
I'm excited. I hope that they do. Like I hope that, because that's a whole roster of players that nobody really looks at like that. Right? Like they don't have the magnifying glass on. I'm like, yes, us as casters and some super fans watch them, but it's not like it's not White Chicken, it's not Mobazane, it's not Basic, it's not Shark, it's not Hoon. So if they could break into that, top 3, then the opportunity's there that maybe our player pool is getting larger. You got anything, Liz?
Well, who do you think is the top 3 right now? Besides, BTK, Gaming Gladiator, and the third spot.
Probably DA.
Is it accurately Devious Activity?
Yeah. I say Devious Activity.
I think we're all in agreement.
You know what I wanted to like really talk about is, how do you think Milo is doing? Because Milo had this huge scene last NACT with Zane and Daddy Hoon, but this season he's joined with Zane on BTK, and he's doing pretty well actually.
Name for Hoon, Liz?
No, he said that
I know,
on stage. What are you talking about?
I think Milo's been doing good.
He's doing really well.
Great.
Yeah,
but
a lot of others.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Sorry,
because at the MPLI, I felt like his confidence was not there. He was feeling it wasn't to where he is at now. But then really with this season, it seems like, when Gaming Gladiators pulled Chicken, they probably decided that Chicken is a better silent player compared to Milo. But then when he joined BTK, I felt like the competition was pretty 50-50 for both of them. What do you guys think?
Easy.
Melo and Chicken.
Okay, so I was following a lot of their games in the upper bracket, day 1 on Saturday, this previous Saturday. Mm-hmm. He's been performing. He's been doing really good. Honestly, It was so funny watching them go up against all these teams. It was like a kill race between him and Zane on who could get that MVP the fastest, and they were just racking them up. But honestly, Milo most of the time would get that MVP or be right beneath it. And he was just a good opener in a lot of these fights. He was always at the right place at the right time. He increased his hero pool, which is great. And he seems a lot more confident this time around. I can't really speak on his performance in the international scene, but he is very confident when it comes to the NA side of things. International, if they do make it out and hold those banners for us again, we'll have to kind of rate him there. But for the NA scene, at least from what we've seen so far, I think he stepped his game up.
I will say did I...
Go ahead, Private.
I will say that in talks with him, the big thing for MPL was the aggression. The difference was the aggression that he faced compared from NA to MPL from MSC and M5 is the amount of aggression he got up there, the ganks and stuff that were happening in his lane, where you didn't see a lot of that in North America coming his way, just because TOB was pretty much dominant here. When you go overseas, they're able to out rotate TOB. They're able to get to these lanes. They're able to gank from the front and still have somebody behind to catch him when he tries to rebound. And I think that was the biggest difference. And I think we might see where his limits are when he faces that again, if he goes again when they go against TOB, because I think you're going to be on a more even slate. I will say an interesting, I guess, a thing I've noticed is when Chicken was on the team with Zane, I felt like it was still kind of the Zane show where Chicken would get sets, he would help out the team, but Zane still very much stood out as like the pillar on the team of who was doing this massive amount. Right now, when I watch Mielo on the team, it does feel like they're like Mielo kind of like Eve is starting to try to catch up to Zane when it comes up to kills, when it comes up to these ganks, when it comes up to some of these sets. It's really interesting. And while I feel like maybe last season Mielo might not have been up to that level that Chicken was at, I feel like there is nothing but positive things coming from Mielo now that he's able to be on a team that is or
dependent on
teams,
him
actually It's two teams now. He's been part of TOB where he's gotten a ton of this experience. He's now part of BTK where he's absorbing more of this experience. So I feel like I know I said it before that they had probably gone for Chicken because he was the #1 XP laner that Gaiman Gladiators did. But I mean, right now I feel like Mielo, he's absorbing enough to where he can kind of make that a very close race in North America for that top XP lane position.
The BTK team right now is actually quite interesting. We've been boosting up Mielo pretty much to have that international experience, and he also knows TOB pretty much in the back of his mind. Now, Gaming Gladiators coming in, he might be that raw element, that shadow that knows how they play to be able to kind of give them the game that they deserve. And the whole entire lineup, they have Cold World here, which not many people are talking about. This guy got second place, I do believe, when it was either the Valley or BTK went up to
BTK versus the Simpsons.
Yes, OSP Cold World got second place, right? And that's a very, very strong guy. He also played in the past NACTs. We didn't get to see his name actually pop up, but this time around, he's coming through basic. There's also really, really strong. And Nicolette back in the scene. A lot of the new players coming through here. I can't tell you BTK is going to actually be top 3. These people, all of them have proven themselves worthy on all different teams. This is a brand new team. Completely new.
Even I forgot what Arvel's new name is.
G1.
But,
G1. Yeah,
he was with Cold World on The Simpsons as well for that second place as well. So I mean, and honestly, like I think Nicolette herself has her own little tab as far as casters go with like the history she has here in North America.
Not just Queen of NA right there. Queen of
NA. Honestly,
if she gets to grand finals. That's what we're throwing in her ass.
The long way, Chuck.
Queen of NA.
I think a lot of the casters have been huge fans of hers, like because it's been said, and I say this till I'm blue in the face. Like I think she's one of the top mages, not female mages in North America. One of the top mages in North America. And
she is the top female mage in North America. I guess we can say that.
Well, yeah,
right?
I mean,
definitely the best.
Well, I mean, I just meant like even if you're gonna add in like male, female in there, I think she's still top of top of the class here in North America. And I've honestly been waiting, like, and not to say that I've been waiting for her to be in a top team, because honestly, on her own, but she's been like top 3 teams almost every single NACT she's participated
every time she's participated. So hot take real fast. Yes or no answer. Rapid fire from everybody. Nicolette over Demon, question mark.
Over Demon?
Yeah.
No.
No?
No.
Demon's
my favorite.
Demon has live stage experience. That's all I can say is like he's got live stage experience. Nicolette needs to prove that.
All right, Liz?
For me.
Well, it seems like Zane doesn't agree. Zane thinks that Nicolette is better than Demon right now.
I think Zane was actually the one who wanted to keep Demon, and Cold World and Basic didn't have synergy with Demon, so that's why Nicolette got brought in. They had, when they were scrimming,
interesting.
The rest of the team actually had better synergy with Nicolette. Zane actually, I think, wanted to keep Demon. I could be slightly off, but that's the information that I kind of got from it all.
Yeah, but you have to compare Demon from Avalon versus Nicolette that hasn't been in the scene for a year.
For one season.
Yeah.
For one season, yes, that's a huge season.
Yeah. But she's got way more titles. She's got way more top 2s than Demon.
Okay.
She's got she's got a first place NACT as well. She's much more decorated than Demon. If we look at overall history, I mean, last season was Demon's first occurrence.
Like, do you think the current meta favors Nicolette more? Or it doesn't really make a difference?
It's not,
because right now we see Aurora coming back.
I think for the first, I think when it comes to mid laners, none of them are like such a small hero pool that it's not like junglers in a sense where like some junglers really focus on assassins, some really focus on utility. I feel like almost all of our mid laners will thrive in just about any meta. I don't think any of them are like
I feel like the only way that Nicolette falls off in that scenario where we're like certain hero pools is if like Gujin came back into the meta in mid, because I haven't really seen her mechanical abilities shine through, but her positioning, her aim, and everything like that has always been on par. So with the current meta of people like Aurora, God bless freaking Nana out there, and Vexana and things like that.
Vexana,
2016 baby.
I think the more these soft mages that come back and play, the better it is for Nicolette, actually, because Demon, one of the things that he has is that Gus that Private's talking about. He can play a Lapu mid, you know, if you really wanted to pull that out. But when it comes down to the meta now, with the whole Nana, Vexana, Aurora thing, like Nicolette definitely is going to be one of the strongest options.
What are you trying to say, bro? Those are more female-picked heroes right there or something, bro?
No,
I'm just kidding.
I just think it,
the Nana
AoE
pick?
mages.
long range casting.
Long range.
Well, if you're interested in female mages, we do have another one that's sneaking up in the scene. On Before You, Erica.
Okay.
That's the team that took down Gosu. That's the crazy Nana that everybody's been talking about for this past week. That's another female mage. So we now have 2 on the scene.
I like it.
Yeah, because I feel like the current meta it's not dependent on mechanics that much. It's more it relies more on your positioning, because they're very squishy mages. So you have to be perfect at positioning, knowing where to do that team damage that your team needs. And I think that's something that Nicolette shines through. Not because she's a female mage playing those Aurora characters, is more because those heroes are her strong heroes.
Even if you go back to like old seasons when Farza was very popular, even like one of her old pocket picks, the Lu Yi. You talk about the way that she used, like she knows how to, like she works the map very, very well. She has a very keen eye for it. Something that I have always prized her on. Definitely, I think, like Yuwei said, when it comes down to mechanics, if we were in a slightly different meta, we would see some of those more aggressive mid laners kind of shine. And it's true, this could be a very good season for Nicolette, just because of the way these games are going, or just because of the way the meta is kind of flowing right now for the mid. Any other hot takes from top teams right now?
Yo, no one has talked about devious activities. These guys
it's so weird.
These guys are nuts, dude. Like this is kind of a combination between like old school A77, the previous roster of BTK. You also got the Latam player Kush that
Kushito?
used to dominate North America. Decides to go to Latam with my boy Dez out there. Shout out to both of you guys.
No, he played with he played with Ignis.
This season, both of them decided to come back. It's like, hey man, nice break you guys got, but this time it's going to be our time. And Devious Activity is one of the strongest team. They also got Mikasa, which you know, is from Gosu, is also from Knights of Faith, a dominant player that forced bans like Alice and Freya. And you know, Kush has pretty much all the hero pool. Lord T went from XP into that roam position, now leading a team, and even their you know,
Gina,
subs.
right?
There's Gina.
Gina's back.
Super Melon, also from OSP, did hit that top 2 in that season for NACT. So that team is insanely stacked, and you know, has been managed by Houdini too. So shout outs to you, Houdini, little manager.
I mean, it's fair. I mean, we've rated them. I think we all agree they're the
top 3.
Top 3 teams. So
I think everybody is.
Yeah, I think
they're
definitely
not
gonna be monsters. Are they gonna?
I'm hoping that.
Do we think they like get a great big upset? Do you think like what's percentage rate on them in grand finals?
In grand finals?
Yeah.
Shoot, dude, that's
it's too early. Too early.
Yeah, a little.
I think every team is good, but they all have to prove themselves besides Gaming Gladiators, in my honest opinion. We have not seen all of them form together, but Gaming Gladiators has been that team that literally did not switch that many players.
I would love for it to follow a trend of Devious Activity being like added to the pool of top of North America to where there used to only be BTK. Now there's TOB, now Gaiman Gladiators, and BTK. I would love for it to be now there's BTK, Gaiman Gladiators, and Devious Activity, and for us to keep like every single season or every single year start expanding that pool here in North America to where more and more teams are getting up to that point where it could be anybody's game, where we're not just, we already know right from the beginning who's going to be making it to the grand finals.
I think that's what this season's going to bring, honestly.
I think this season could be that.
Yeah.
I hope this season's that, unless Game of Gladiators just destroys everybody and that'd be depressing.
I hope I agree with you guys. I hope it's going to be even gameplay. However, I do hope that both Gaming Gladiator and BTK makes it to the grand finals. because hear me out, because I really like the fact that Dota teams are investing in the NA scene. And I don't want that to stop, because if this is the first season that like a professional team has decided to sponsor one of our teams in Mobile Legends, and if that goes sour, then who knows what's gonna mean for the future of NA. So for that reason alone, I hope that Gaming Gladiators does make it to the grand finals at least, and also I want to see Zayn for the grand finals. So yeah. I guess unpopular opinion.
No,
I mean it's a fair assessment.
It's a popular opinion.
From a sponsorship standpoint, I would say it's a fair opinion. I just want to see whoever wins, the NACT. I want them to be able to represent us on the international scene and get us past group stage. That's all I care about. Because, we just got to get past group stage at this point. Like we can get out of there, then that's a major victory over last year. And then if we can get even higher than that, then I mean, it's just dubs everywhere. So as long as we have a strong team to represent us and put up some good competition on the international level.
Yeah.
All right. So we've been going on for a bit now. We're going to start to speed things up a bit. Dark horse candidates. Now, I think we all can kind of agree that like GG, BTK, DA, most likely Area 77, Bloodhounds. That's 5 teams that I think all of us kind of feel like are going to make it to top 8 at least. Does anyone hard disagree with any of those 5?
No.
All right, so there's 3 slots left. Maybe Gosu's in there as well. Maybe 2 slots left. Who are the teams that slip in? Who are the teams that that we want to shine some light on now? Like, what do we think we need to keep our eyes on? Who's the team that maybe shocks us all? Maybe pulls off a win against a top team in this round 3, who should we be having our eyes on here? Private, you got anybody or anyone who's got someone off the top of their heads?
And if somebody who was not listed in that top 5 is, I would go with, I'd have to go with Fiends just because they made it through the top bracket. They're top 8 right now. So, and right now, I don't want to put like a curse on the teams competing in stage 2, but many of them already had a chance. They got knocked down, and if we're talking about Fiends, they're a team who upset and are now like in a strong position in the top 8 from out of nowhere. And I think that they can they might be able to carry that through and get themselves a secured position for the season.
Yeah, I agree. And if I had to throw another one out there, that's not any of the ones we listed, I would probably say Overskilled. Would be another good team as well. I mean, they did really good. They made it all the way through, and they took down Before You, like we said, which was the team that took down Ghost. And Before You, that's a second team I would add on there. If Before You can make it through the lower brackets, the way they rotated on Gosu was something that we're used to seeing with like a top 4 team. The way they kind of played that that was like the best game I believe we've had so far, at least from what I watched. That's the best one that I've seen so far in this NACT spring season. So I would say Overskilled first, just because they took down Before You and they took them down with more of a one-sided kind of fashion. But if it's not Overskilled, then I would say possibly Before You.
I just want to put it, Before You is actually, I know one of the players, this whole entire team is actually pretty much brand new. Like, these are players that are from the North American mlbb Discord server. And I used to be a mod over there, so I hosted a lot of the events, and I knew some of these players there. And the transformation between them there and winning this game is absolutely crazy to me. Unfortunately, Before You is not going to be on my list. I love Fiends so far, and I also liked how you brought up Overskilled. one of their players, Jordan the Nightmare, shout outs to him, used to be the leader of Empire. And I had a chance to play with a lot of these players here, but Empire, was one of the teams that did get that top 4 position in NACT before, right? And this guy was the one that led them to it. And of course, we had that whole Empire situation go into that Avalon, which Jordan had to deal with, decided to step out. Now he's deciding to come back with a full line of roster. And some of these players are quite like, the old names. Euphoria, I've got to play with them. Myth, I believe, was from Night Horde. Kev, I do believe from Unknown Society. Basic for Yui's also a very, very strong grinder. So a lot of these teams are brand new, but Overskilled and Fiend are going to be my 2 choices.
Liz, you got anything?
So what you guys are saying is everybody in the current top 8 except for the Night Horde. What's going on with that?
I think I like Night Horde. I think Night Horde has. I mean, if I'm going to pick like a team that, and they're kind of, we can't really call them a dark horse because we kind of know them, so it's kind of tough. But if there's a team that can maybe like slip into top 4, maybe get the up, like if we're talking like Bloodhounds earlier we were talking about Bloodhounds being a possible top 4 candidate or something, like a team getting a steal. I think they're definitely up for grabs here. But I think this whole top 16 thing, like this whole 16 best of 1 round robin, that's where we're going to see some like, I think that's where we could see some things go down. Like a team like Fiends or a team like Bloodhounds, like possibly getting the better of BTK, possibly getting the better of GG in one random game, I think that's where we're going to possibly see some like crazy upsets. That's going to be the bloodbath that we've been talking about all night,
And shout outs to the Night Horde squad right now. They're actually the ones that won the campus tournament a few weeks back that I decided to host. And majority of their members actually were underneath one of my old managers, Misu. And they actually decided to bring up this whole entire team into Night Horde, which is very surprising. So all the players that they have, it's completely new in terms of the Night Horde brand itself, but they've all been synergized quite well. And a lot of these players are strong, even are, known to be on a lot of the Cardi stream, a lot of Dez stream, a lot of viewers out there. They know
been
these
around for
players.
a while, yeah.
Yep. So I'm very, very excited. And you talk about the dark horse hitting into that top 4 spot. Night Horde, I do think, have the ability to do so as long as they execute it cleanly.
I mean, they got
Speaking of Dez,
My Foe. They got a lot of. They have some players for sure. Speaking of
Desi, what do you guys think? Are we going to see him play as on the main roster sometime this season, or is he going to be, because he is the sub right now for TOB, right? For Gaming Gladiators?
I would say yes in the regular season, just because it's really just for points. And I mean, normally if it's anything like last season, if for some reason if Gaming Gladiators just dominates everybody, then there's no reason why they wouldn't sub Dez in for a couple of games to get him out there.
Fair.
But I do think if it's closer to where they're not really performing too well, then they may just stick with best player, or maybe they'll swap if they're not doing good and see how it goes. So I think either way, there's still a good chance that we'll see Dez jump in one of these matches in the regular season.
You guys ever seen his shorts? He had a recent short on a Beatrix on Dez's. Like, bro, like I was convinced that Dez was actually going to be playing sub for Zia. You guys are talking about sub for jungle. I think I'm convinced he's going to be playing. So, hey, man. I'm going to shout out right now. If Dez hops onto that marksman, you heard it from here.
What was your prediction rate last season, Yuwei?
We don't talk about last season, man. That was last year, man. That was last year. I'm talking about my duo caster down.
Come on.
I mean, you better keep it up. We have to think of new jokes to make this season. We've seen Yuwei with that prediction rate.
It was fun. It was all for games,
So I think one thing to point out though with the whole Dez thing, and I think a couple of the top teams like BTK, is a lot of them do have actual like subs this time. Like BTK has G1 for Roam sub. They have Cardi for EXP sub. And I think a lot of these subs, like you have Dez on sub, a lot of these subs are hungry for main slots.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these subs are practicing behind the scenes because they want that. Actually, they don't want to be on the bench, right? So, and that's something that I think is very healthy for a team. I think most pro teams always have a large bench because, and it's why we'll see one season, the gold laner's out, Oheb's out, super red's in, like things change on even pro teams all around the world. And when you have someone on your back, like breathing on it, it makes that competition. It makes you like, all right, I can't just slack off or I'm going to lose my spot on the team, and that is very normal for all sports. So I think like for teams to have benches now, even some of these top teams, I think it's a step in the right direction.
It's an interesting transformation with the bench situation for me, because a lot of the teams back then, for me, it felt like their bench situation was just to gatekeep the players from playing on another team. We always talked about it. Like Gina's sitting on the bench, and we always thought Gina was this crazy character. Now, the teams actually have benches that, that want to actually play in the team. It doesn't feel like the gatekeeping anymore. Like Chicken, for example, I do believe he was benched or he was put into a different position. Now he gets to play for his own team. Same thing with Cole World, same thing with Basic. These people, they have their positions and they get to play it this time around. I feel like it's quite nice for the new players to join in and to be able to have a spot officially. And the benches back then in the previous season now actually all split up and get to play on. You can even talk Tarzan. Back then he was on the Valley, getting tossed around like a piece of plastic. Now he has his own team.
A piece of plastic.
Whoa! Don't talk about my dog Tar. Don't talk about Guapo like that.
Even when he was in Avalon, he was getting tossed around once again with the whole Zane situation. So I'm happy that we have. There's so many teams out there giving so many opportunities for every single type of player to find their main lineup, because it's hard. It's a lot of pressure.
Fair.
We want to talk about a lot of the players that maybe our audiences don't know that much about, but I also do want to talk about Chicken, because he's finally back in his dominant lane in the professional scene. What do you guys predict for him? Like, do you guys think he's slacking off a little bit on that role just because he was playing Rome last season and then he also didn't participate the season beforehand? Do you think he's just got it in him that he's gonna do really well, especially if they go into the international scene?
Well, I would say, to jump on it, let's say for instance, if Chicken didn't do too well, his team is so stacked with superstars that they would just pick up the difference of what he wouldn't be able to accomplish in the game. So I don't think it would really have the biggest impact. It would still affect their game, but I don't think as much as the other teams that are currently sitting in a top 8 position. I don't see Chicken not being a top performer. I mean, he's definitely, it's kind of like Milo in a sense. Like Milo, I feel like is a little bit more energetic and outgoing than Chicken is. But when it comes to actual gameplay, both of them, like Chicken will call out shots and he'll tell the team where to go. Like his in-game IQ is it's up there. But the same thing for Milo. Like I watch a lot of the matches where Milo will jump in, especially in the upper bracket where they're going against teams. He doesn't talk on VC. Like he's not talking in the mic. He's typing on the phone, telling them to cut to this lane, go here, push back, don't take the Lord. I'm telling you, if you look at the chat log on the bottom left of the screen for BTK, it's all Milo calling out shots for the team on where to go, a majority of it. And that's just facts. But I think with Chicken, he's more vocal, so he'll say it in the VC. But I think they have a strong impact, just overall in-game awareness and IQ. Is what kind of separates them, and not even touching their gameplay and their hero pool. Just overall, like that shot calling dynamic and quick decision making is what's going to make the difference for him.
I'm sorry, but I got it. I still think Chicken's a league or two above Milo. I think I hate to say it, but I kind of feel like Milo's getting a little overhyped. I think last season Milo was with I think Milo's good. I think he's good. I think he was with a very strong team last. And Private said it when they got to the world stage, or maybe Yuwei said, I can't remember who. And when the team itself started to get out rotated, Milo wasn't able to keep up. And I think that's going to be the difference with Chicken. Chicken could have a really good season, be the best in his pond, and then still go overseas. And when the rest of his team starts to fold, Chicken will stand up. And there's a difference. So, like, Chicken will do better under pressure throughout this season if GG does actually end up having challengers and teams that maybe Hoon and Shark have a bad day, or they're getting worked by another mid duo. You know, they're getting worked by Nicolette and CW. Even if Chicken's getting ganked a lot or something, or they're just really hard focusing, I think Chicken will be able to withstand that. Whereas we saw Milo, like you said, like Milo was having a little trouble when he got to MPLI, and he was seeing that, oh my God, we're not the strongest team anymore. My team cannot keep up with the enemy's team's rotations. My team cannot keep up with the enemy team's power. He was no longer as good as he looked, right, when he was in NA. Whereas Chicken, I feel like Chicken is all, like, even when his team's losing, Chicken has pulled through. Chicken has been on highlight reels for M3, M4. His joy in M4 was monstrous. You can go find the reels on Instagram, man. Like, the kid has talent, which is going to be huge. And I hope that Milo steps up and becomes his challenger. But I think there's other EXP laners there's other EXP laners we have to look at as well. Sadly, like, I don't think Promise is playing this season, but he was always one that I had my eyes on. So we'll see who else is out there too.
I think one of the reasons that Chicken and Zane got along together for so long was the work ethic that they both shared when it came to grinding Mobile Legends. Like, I want to say, like, as far as, like, just outright workers in North America, like, Zane and Chicken are probably at the top of my list for the amount of effort they put in. It just so happens that Chicken is not as popular as Zane. So his like when it comes to things like income for like being able to, like, take care of himself, which is probably one of the bigger reasons that he decided to team with Gaiman Gladiators. And now that he has an opportunity to potentially make a professional, like a real professional, like, go of this, I don't think that we're going to be seeing a Chicken slack. I think we're going to see, like, something. I think we're going to see probably the best version of Chicken that we've seen ever come out of this, because he wants to be able to be able to do this as a living. My only second point to go into this too is before last season, Zia used to have a ton of struggles in the marksman lane. On Ackerman, he wasn't really performing at this level that we saw last season. And when you talk with him, the first thing he brings up is that when he was on teams like that, everybody was looking at him to be the leader. Everybody looked at him because he had that experience. He'd been on the live stage. They wanted him to help with drafts. They wanted him to make call outs. And when he got to the Ohio Brothers, where he was allowed to just be a marksman, just focus on his lane, he has shined so bright to the point that even last season when we saw him on internationals, the entire team was struggling. Zio's still doing all right.
He's the most consistent one. Yeah,
I think he played best on
and
the
I feel like
stage.
We might see something like that out of Chicken here now that he's going to be part of a team that where there might not be as much pressure on him to help with decision making or something like that. Can just do the XP lane, just worry about the sets and stuff like that. I think we might see something else akin to what we saw with the step up from Zia last season.
But no, everyone forgot about Yurishi.
Who's that, bro?
Who's that?
It's wild to me. Like, I Mialo is quite good. He went onto the international stage. Chicken, for the first time, is maybe not for the first time, but in a professional scene, not playing with Zane, right? The huge dynamic difference. Mikasa is on a team that is, we project top 3, a contender for the championships. It's very hard for me to back Mikasa because he used to play for teams like Gosu or Knights of Faith, where it was kind of just for fun, right? You ever hear their interview with like Zero and Ooga Booga? It's for fun. Now he's on a strong team. But I actually think Yurishi, and Jordan, which has led Empire to top 4 in the seasons before, these two guys Even along with Fiends, MOBA King, I've seen these guys play, and they are really, really strong in the XP. And when they see people like Chicken and Milo, like, they aren't scared. I think a
Yeah, it's
lot of
just
these
another play.
XPs are insanely strong, and they've been able to, get the experience that they need and try to dominate the opponents. And I think we're going to see a pretty big trend of everyone just trying to slap each other. I think if anything, this NACT has been the most fairest and the most, like, bottom teams are good, top teams are good. Everyone's got a chance. Everyone's been, merging with each other. There's just so much happening. It's quite exciting.
And they have a chance to play with each other a lot more than before because of the whole qualifier system that we have here. 3 stages for just qualifiers. That's a lot of work on you guys. That's my main point. You guys have to cast 5-6 hours per week.
It's gonna be
shout out to Weezy and Private for doing
actually
the work
talking
of the people, like
doing the work for the people.
Well, Trex was in there for a little bit too. He just has a busy work schedule sometimes.
Saturdays.
Yeah.
I'm dead on Saturdays.
He was there too.
You see none. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, he squeezed in for the matches that
It's
counted.
like my 14. I came at the very end.
Counted.
Literally on Sunday, I got home. I got home at like 8 p.m. I'm like jumping on my computer. I send out a message like, can I join the lobby? Can I join the lobby? I start on my stream, and then I forget to put the delay on. And I immediately am getting like DMs from Moonton and Dave and all the people. And they're like, sir, you have to have a delay on your stream. And I'm like, so I have to restart my stream. And I was so flustered. That was during the Gosu game, and I was just like not even knowing what was going on. It was rough. It was fun, though. We caught it. All right, so we're a little past schedule. I think the goal was an hour. At a minute, an hour and 12. I think a good way to wrap things up, if I can give mine first, because I already kind of have one prepped. Top 8. Do you guys prediction on top 8? I'll give everyone a second to make their final decisions. I think I already kind of know mine. Mine is very simple. No hot takes or anything. It's gonna be GG, BTK, Devious Activities, Area 77, Bloodhounds, Night Horde, Gosu. Who's number 8? It's not that easy. That's the hard one. And for Yuwei's sake, we're gonna go with Fiends. There we go. I don't even know.
Well, I'll make mine simple too. I mean, mine's exactly what you just said.
Oh, there. All right. We're 2 for 2. We're 2 for 2.
Yeah, it's 100% the same. I would say if not the last one, Fiends. If it's not Fiends, then I would probably say maybe B4Us could sneak up in there. But I got to see them compete a little bit more. I'm just not too sure about them because I know they're XP laner. And from when I used to play with him, he didn't have the biggest hero pool. He was like a Dyroth main, and he actually pulled out Dyroth. He was the only Dyroth in the entire upper bracket, or in the entire spring season so far, that selected a Dyroth.
Yeah, maybe
and
not
he didn't
Fiends. Maybe we'll go. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Fiends. This was before you. He didn't really do too hot on the Dyroth pick, and that kind of limited their team. Now, if he does have a bigger hero pool from what I used to see, then I would possibly say they're a possibility. But I could wholeheartedly agree. Your top 8, that's where I would go with it too.
Who's next?
Well, that's not looking very promising for everyone that's joining in the round 2, but just for the sake of seeing like what Yuwei is gonna say, I'll go with your pick. Yeah, because Overskilled, I don't know too much about them. I think my top 7 I would agree with what you guys said, but the 8th team, I would leave it open for either someone else that's coming in for round 2.
Just pick a name.
Or yeah, pick a name out of like even chances.
Well, the thing is, Gosu, like this is just like what we expect, but there's still not. I wouldn't say it's like a 90% or even an 80% on this list actually making it, and that's just because like the competition's so evenly spread out this time around. And there's a lot of anomalies out there. And like even a team like Gosu, I wouldn't say I think a Gosu is going to make it. I wouldn't say 90%. I would probably say a little bit lower than that.
60.
And honestly, there's teams on here
so
that
we
I haven't
agreed
seen.
top 6.
Yeah, because I would say like there's teams on here we don't really know. Like there's a lot of newer teams like Fiends. I didn't know Fiends. Yuwei knew Fiends. And a team like before you, like there are teams out there now who can do this. And I think there's a higher amount of them this time around than we've ever had, which is going to decrease the chances of really saying for sure that we have a solid, like guaranteed top 8.
For me, starting from the top, I'd go with Gaima Gladiators, BTK, Devious Activity. I don't think there's any arguing those guys. Then a little bit of a change here. I'd go for Bloodhounds, Area 77, Night Horde.
I'm not going in order or anything. Mine is no order.
I have Gosu. At 8th place. I think that they are strong enough to just narrowly get it into the top 8. However, there were some struggles that I've seen that initially I had them as 6th place on my list. But there's some of those struggles I've seen them go through, and then while I do like some roster changes for some stronger players, and I agree that those have been filled up by some stronger players, there is something to be said about synergy when it starts getting higher up into the mountain of North America. That synergy matters. And they might be able to like kind of come through, get a little bit stronger as the season progresses. But I think I'm going to put Fiends ahead of them for the top 8. And then,
I mean, that's fair. They're the ones who took them down in the upper bracket. So they've already beat them once. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the same as what we're all voting. I would probably agree with that order too. I mean, it's the same teams that Trek said. I think you just actually did it in the order that you think. And I could definitely agree with you.
I think that, a lot of the NACTs, if we kind of look at the patterns coming through, I love Fiends. These guys work hard, but unfortunately, if I had to choose, none of the West teams are going to make it. Gosu, not going to make it. Fiends, not going to make it. I actually think teams like Overskilled, which is majority East, Area 77, majority East, Nova Core, Limey Top, these guys are actually going to be the ones that I wish I could preach for Team Ace. Unfortunately, I don't think they're above the par, but they did beat a lot of good teams, especially in like NABA and a lot of the local tournaments. They've been getting significantly high places there. I think a first and a second. And then there's also,
what about Legacy with Riles?
Legacy is
forgot about Riles.
No, we forgot about Riles, guys.
I like Riles, but honestly, I caught both of his games. I mean, he went against BTK and lost to BTK. I think his second one was, what was it, the Night Horde? Was the second one that he lost? Was it the Night Horde, guys? I think it was. Let me check. But regardless, he played Hayabusa in the second game, which is
it's not in the meta anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't really.
That's his bread and butter, though.
It's his bread and butter. It's his comfort pick, but it just doesn't really work with today's day and age. And then the first one he played Barats, and I think he tried to take it away from Moba Zane to try and pull it off, and it just didn't perform too well. I wouldn't say from both games I didn't see anything that I would just be like, even though like Assassin Round's amazing content creator, I'm sure they have a really good team. I just personally have not seen anything from those two matches to where I would say that's a top 8 team. And that's just only from those two matches. But again, they were going against, they did go against 2 good teams though. I will say it was 2 top 8 teams from last year they did face. So, I mean, they did have a little bit of a rougher ride than some of the ones who got to go against some of the newer teams. But to make it to top 8, you got to at least be able to take down somebody in the top 8. And it's kind of hard for me to say that I could confidently see them doing that.
All right, back to you.
And for Lamey Top,
back to me. The top 4 of Gaming Gladiators, DVS, BTK, and Bloodhounds. I feel like these guys, have secured their spots, done well in the qualifiers, deserve to kind of be pushed past. And Bloodhounds here is very, very interesting. But again, I think they're much more prepared this time around, especially with the addition of Ooga Booga. Night Horde had a tough bracket. Was the only team that had to pretty much swim through the whole entire thing. But again, this is a team that we've seen them win a few times around, but I can't even say that they're going to be top 8 this time around because their roster is completely different from the Night Horde before. The brand is still there, but it's completely different. A77, on the other hand, I do believe is going to be right next to Bloodhounds. They lost to BTK. They went against Gaming Gladiators. They probably lose to them too. If they went against Devious Activities, they would probably lose against them too. But against these top teams, if that's their only loss, A77, I believe, should be ranked 5th, guaranteed whatsoever. That leaves 3 spots left open. If it's like East teams, Night Horde, Overskilled, Nova Core, those are like, and Limey Top, those would be kind of like the East teams. The West teams, we would go with, you know, Fiends, Gosu, and then also that AO team. What is it? CU. What's the problem? I think that's their team name.
What's the problem?
What's the problem?
It's AO, you know, and if we talked about the previous NACT, I kind of just want to name through all the teams that was there before. Wildcards is definitely has been a contender to get into that position. Vanguard has done quite well. Legacy could rise above the rest. But I do think this first qualifier is the people that are on that list were meant to be there. I do think they have a significant chance of going into that top 8. If not, you know, 6 out of 8, 7 out of 8 would be going into that next round. I think the qualifiers number 2 for me is just not as strong, unfortunately.
Yeah, but who are your 3 teams that you're putting in? I don't want your. So I need
No
3,
one's
bro. No one's
Trex.
getting away with this, man. Give me 3 teams. You gave your 5. Who are the last 3 teams that you think are gonna make it in?
Night Horde, because they did win AES.
Okay. Who else?
I think Fiends could have potential, and I'm just gonna go with Gosu. Just
exactly what Trex said, though.
I couldn't debate it. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I think everybody could agree. That's
yeah. But I do want to. I think we can. The only one that we are forgetting is that Lemmy Top didn't participate in stage 1, and they're gonna come in tomorrow for the matches. So yeah, so Lemmy Top is someone that definitely we need to look out for.
I miss Lemmy Top. I voted for during the end of season. I finally just wanted them to win, and I would vote for them every single game. They never won. Anyways. All right, I think that is going to be it, guys. We'll do any final words from everybody, and we can start with Liz.
Well, first of all, it's great to be back. We had a couple months of break since the M5. It was a lot going on. Definitely miss being back at the caster's desk, even though I'm the host. And I think this season is going to be a very exciting journey for the community, for the fans, as well as for us. I think it's going to be a fresh new season, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you guys. Yeah.
Private?
There's a lot going on this season. There's a lot for these guys to be fighting for. I say this every single season, but this season is going to be like probably the most exciting season. Like, I mean, all of these guys.
That's part of the job.
It's part of like all of these guys. They're teaming up with people that they haven't teamed up with before. Even Yuwei's been talking about like they're pretty much pulling out all the stops. Nobody's getting a free ride to be sitting on the bench right now because everybody wants they got their sights set on that on the grand finals. They got their sights set on the future and possibly MSC. Everybody has been practicing scrimming for I want to say like the scrim heat started I want to say like 3 months before before it usually does when NACT is announced. Like people have been practicing pretty hard for this one in particular, so you're gonna see probably a level of play and combatancy that you haven't seen before in NACT, and I'm really excited to see how some of these guys perform.
Yuwei?
I mean, for me the most important thing is that I really want the viewers to be vocal about who they are rooting for, because this is a season where there's so many different teams, and once again, a lot of these players are playing for their line. There's no like subs sitting out. Like all the players that are on the lineup, you know, these are the same players that we've seen quite a bit. So I want the fans to kind of reach out and tell us like who they are rooting for and why, because there's so many good teams out there. this is pretty much the season to see, is it going to be the Zane story coming through? Is Chicken going to be that evil man jumping onto a different team? Is Devious Activity, the XBTK, coming through with a new roster, bringing in people from LATAM, Bloodhounds, with their original same roster? And just, it's so beautiful. And I really want the fans to engage with us, tell us how it is, because that is going to be pretty much the most exciting thing for me.
Don't be too toxic.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can root for a team without hating another team.
It's called passion. Passion.
Go for it.
Weezy?
Yep. Yeah, just to kind of jump in on all that. I mean, like you said, this competition is hotter than ever. The teams are harder than ever. There's a lot more faces in North America now, especially with everything that's on the line, new prize pools coming out. Like, the scene is growing like rapid fire, and we're just glad to all be a part of it. This is our caster desk, and our host is over here too. So you'll see us holding down the fort the entire spring season. So definitely tune in and vibe out with us. And yeah, I'm just glad to be a part of it. Like we said, we gave our predictions, guys, but it still can be anybody's game. We don't want other teams to feel like they don't have a chance. It's really just what you put into it. These are just teams that we've seen compete the most and have worked the hardest from what we have personally seen. But there are a lot of people who don't create content, who aren't on the professional scene, but they're still grinding it out every day. And those are the teams that I'm honestly looking the most forward to seeing, is the new faces in North America. So if you guys are out there, definitely shout out to you for your hard work and dedication. And hey, we all look forward to seeing you guys in the spring season.
Most definitely. Couldn't have said it any better myself. So thanks everyone for watching. It's been a great roundtable. NACT regular season is right around the corner. Don't forget to tune in this weekend, guys. I'm sure a lot of these guys you see on the screen will be live streaming the second stage and then on to the third stage. If one thing's for sure, this is going to be one of the biggest years ever for Mobile Legends. We have huge tournaments all over the place, and NACT is going to have, hopefully, a big impact on that. So, once again, thank you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe for the channel if you want to catch all the future NACT content. That is going to be it for